Technology that is tasked with helping keep canals free of stinky blue-green algae working. In the last 2 weeks, the health department has issued alerts for blue-green algae along the Caloosahatchee. Now that algae starting to creep into Cape Coral canals despite the bubble curtains that were installed there. Wink News environmental reporter Liz Byro joins us now live from one of the algae-filled canals. So Liz, do the people who live there see a difference between when the bubble curtains are on and when they're not?
It's hard to compare one year's blooms to another, but homeowners who have lived on these canals for years say they've only watched the blue-green algae grow over the last 2 weeks, all while the bubble curtains have been turned on. But they do believe the blooms would be worse without the curtains. A barrier of bubbles. There are 10 bubble curtains currently in place in the Cape, placed between the Caloosahatchee and the canals. The city says the bubbles help break up the algae and will help keep a portion of the blue-green gunk from infiltrating the waterways. But as homeowners Mike Corey and Anthony Carpel show you, the algae is here. Corey's lived on the Salamander Canal since 2019. This waterway in his backyard, protected by the bubble curtain at the start of the Plato Canal, is over 1.5 miles from the Caloosahatchee. He says last year when the curtain wasn't in place, the bloom wasn't too bad.
This year's the worst since I've been here. Yeah. I'm not a scientist. You know, bubble curtains to me, they break it up. It still comes in and out with the flow of the tide. And, you know, it accumulates on the other side again and does its thing.
The city of Cape Coral also wants to remind you and Corey, algae doesn't just come from the river. It can form in the canal systems due to fertilizer runoff.
It started like this last time and it developed into something that was pretty bad, a full-blown bloom.
A lot closer to the Caloosahatchee, Carp's backyard canal is less than 1/2 mile from the bubble curtains. The blooms from previous years look the same as what he sees today with the bubble method in place, but he's happy the city is doing something.
As far as them experimenting with different technology, I think that's a great idea because you have to start someplace. You have to start somewhere and do something in that. And who knows, you know, maybe this bloom would be a lot worse now than what it would be if we didn't have the bubble curtain. So every little bit helps.
Corey agrees. He thinks things could be worse without the bubble defense.
I mean, can you imagine if this was worse? I mean, it's going to get worse, but I'm just saying, you know, and there was times over the years we haven't been able to open our doors, or it's crazy.
The city says the curtains are working how they planned. They aren't on all the time. They're turned on and off depending on the tides to allow the tide to flush some of the algae out. And they do plan to add more curtains. Live in Cape Coral, Liz Byro, Wink News.
Liz, thanks. Now, it is really hard to assess the worth of the bubble curtains without also weighing the cost. And on Wink News at 5, investigative reporter Kelly Miller is going to dive into the taxpayer dollars spent on the curtains. She'll also look back on the cost of the 2018 water crisis.